Welcome back live to Municipal Stadium here in Daytona Beach, Larry Kelly Field. I'm Billy Gahagan, joined by Steve Allen. Coach, 35-0, Mainland leads Spruce Creek. I just don't know where to start. We've talked about how some people thought that this was going to be a closer game. Some people thought this was going to be a good game. You know, the rain, it has not stopped raining since we've gotten here. I'm afraid, though, at 35-0, this is a bit of a moral victory for the Hawks, because I'm afraid that if it were a drier field, we'd be looking at an even higher score and a bigger deficit.
I think it's possible. Again, I think it's more to do with the condition of the ball and how the ball can be handled. These field turf fields, they hold up pretty good. And again, you're not dealing with mud. You're not dealing with divots and problems with cutting and planting. So I really believe that the ball is the factor that the weather affects the most. But yes, I do agree that it could be worse. And if you're Coach Price, one of the hardest things as a coach is being in that locker room when your kids know that they that the game is essentially over, and you're trying to find the things to say. And I think you have to be a visionary as far as what are your goals. And all of our goals are still there ahead of us. We can still their schedule makes it manageable for them to still get to the playoffs, and to go out and try to find some glimmer of hope here in the second half and some things that they can build on as they move through their schedule. They've got a long trip next week, Bill, and I always found it's hard to get your guys. Yeah, I used to say I don't really want to take mine down the road, much less take them out of state. But coming off of a lopsided loss, that makes that even more of a challenge moving ahead for them next week. But you have a short memory. You try to move on, and they've got to put the first half behind them, and they've got to go play a second half and find out who their guys are, who the guys they can count on, the guys that are going to compete, and the guys that they can build with and win with.
Spruce Creek is entering the contest at 1-0. If things stay the way they're headed, they're obviously going to be at 500 at 1-1. They're coming off of a 6-4 year. Last week they beat Seabreeze 19-12. Big win for them, big moral victory for them. Bragging rights, everything. They come in, they take on a very talented Mainland High School team. They go to Texas next week. If they start out 0-3, it's not, or excuse me, 1-2, it's not the end of the world, because those two losses are non-district losses. So it's a bigger thing to have your district wins and losses intact than it is for an overall record, because we've seen teams that were 4-6 overall make it into the playoffs because they were 4-0 in their district.
Been there, and that's the truth, and that's what your first goal, I think, is any team. I know for every team that we ever had, first goal is win the district. That's job number one, and obviously, if your goal is to be undefeated, you can have a number of goals, but your goals have to match what your potential is. And for instance, for a team like Mainland, being undefeated, even with the tough schedule that they have, it's realistic. It's a realistic goal. I don't think that Coach Price, that's kind of one of the things that, he's put on the wall and said, hey guys, our season's going to be a failure if we're not undefeated. I think that's unrealistic. So you're exactly right. They've got their whole season ahead of them, but right now they need to focus on the second half and trying to execute on offense, put together some drives, something they can build on, keep their defense off the field, and again, going back to those game keys, don't turn the ball over, don't give up the big plays, and they're going to have to establish some kind of run game to have any success.
On the flip side, Mainland last year 12-2, they come into the game 1-0. They play Lake Wales next week. I don't know much about them, but their schedule doesn't get hard for them until September 26th, when they take on American Heritage here at Municipal Stadium. Speaking of the possessions and the turnovers, Mainland had 8 possessions in the first half. They scored 5 times. Spruce Creek had 9 possessions, no scores, and they had 3 turnovers. The other 6 possessions were in punts.
And now we have a great start here for Creek here as we get a bobbled kick, and Creek is they're going to make Mainland start this offensive series on their own 10-yard line. But now, and talking about that schedule with Mainland, Billy, I look at that, and Lake Wales is tied at second in the 6A or in the 5A. They're tied with American Heritage in that poll. Lake Wales is in Polk County, is a talent-rich place.
Oh, so they will be tested then
So
next
they
week
will be
against Lake
they will
Wales.
be tested.
Okay.
I think there's enough athletes that Lake Wales will give them.
And that's at Lake Wales.
And it is at
it
Lake
not?
Wales, yes, sir.
Well, that's a true test for the Buccaneers, and that's one thing that they have not shied away from. When Coach Moranto had these guys, and they were taking on the teams up in the Panhandle and the 2A state champions, Chaminade, they were playing those guys. That was all done with hey, we're going to play the best talent available, and it's going to make us even better. Killins on the handoff.
And he can roll, let me tell you.
First possession of the second half, big gain. So another first down for Mainland, and their positive yardage plays just continue.
Yep, and that's again, you'd think runs over 9 yards and passes over 14 yards as being explosives, and Mainland has definitely won the explosives contest here tonight. But you go back to that schedule deal, and but it's not all an accident. When you're somebody like Mainland, the people in your own district don't want to play you, and so it's not always easy to get games.
Houston going up. I'm going to be curious to see which way we go with this one. Houston electing to go and throw the home run ball, and they've been picking on Dondre Butler all night long, and I thought Dondre did a great job of defending the pass. He was actually stepped on, so how they could even throw the flag on that is kind of concerning to me.
I think it's offense, yeah. I don't see any way that could be a defensive penalty. He had pretty good coverage. He was zone transitioning there, got his eyes back to the ball, and probably found it before the receiver did. But again, we continue to talk about that schedule. Talent-rich and tradition-rich state contenders in Mainland's, St. Augustine, Miami Central, Armwood, Naples, Dillard, Carroll City, they're all in that classification. You better be playing somebody on your way to that. You don't want the first time you see that to be in the playoffs.
Penalty was offensive pass interference against the Bucks. Houston's going to hand the ball off to Killins, and he's just going to do what he does best, and that's race around the right end. He's going to try and get back as many yards as he can.
Really not a bad job there by Spruce Creek. It's basically an outside zone play, and if you have speed and you have the speed advantage, which Mainland obviously does here, it's a great play call. You run outside zone to the wide field. You make their athletes chase your athletes, and they obviously have an advantage there. They really like this formation here. They like playing their tight end in what I would call a tray open or a tray-o formation with tight end and two wides on one side. It's a 3-by-1. It gives you a tight end in the game where you've got a three-man surface. You can rush the football, as we see here as he breaks off another explosive run.
That's it's about a 30-yard pickup off of the inside zone.
Correct. And if when it's going that way, and you don't want to believe that it could be happening, but momentum is a really heavy burden to carry, and when it's with you, it can float you and fly you, and when it's against you, it can sink you. And I just, these defensive kids for Creek, they've seen 35 points on the board, and they've come out here in the second half, and Mainland is kind of having their way a little bit with the run game, and there's no better way to demoralize a bunch than hand the ball off and run it at someone.
Killins comes off the field for a bit of an equipment issue. Taking his place is Kalo Hanna. One can only imagine the speed that this young man possesses. Houston's going to look to throw the home run ball. He's under pressure. Just dumps it out to his tight end. Incomplete. And it'll bring up second down for the Buccaneers as Mr. Killins comes back on the field.
Well, Denzel did a nice job right there of avoiding the pressure and extending the play a little bit and still gave him a chance to have a completion on the end. It looked like he just couldn't get 1 foot down. But he avoids the sack, and that's the bigger issue. No negative yardage play. It keeps you, kind of at least in sequence here, and they're going to get a play call in the game. And, you knew that 2 good runs is going to bring a play-action pass. It was only a matter of time. And there is nobody in the middle of the field. I'm looking for a post route here off of play-action. There's your post route wide open.
Pressure again, looking for, yep.
He's there.
He's beyond wide, Coach.
Yeah, and Spruce Creek did a nice job of getting pressure there. But if you're going to kind of zero them out and play a man for a man in the back there, you leave some people in the box that you can bring pressure, but you put a tremendous amount of pressure on your secondary kids.
Pass intended once again for the tight end, Jacob Tillman. He's a senior. Mainland forced to make some substitutions here. I always thought that on a guy coming in from the sideline, he had to break the number, but I don't know.
Baker came in the game, and he did not do that. The tight end comes out. Now, this is their screen and go play. Now, I think they might have just been running the swing screen that time and not the go off of it.
Timeout called by Mainland High School. 6:04 remaining as the clock continues to roll. And now it stops. 6:01 remaining. Mainland up 35-0 on Spruce Creek. We'll be right back. Back live to Municipal Stadium in wet and soggy Daytona Beach, Florida. 35-0 your score. Mainland leading Spruce Creek High School.
Excellent job here by the defense. That's just a design quarterback draw off a play that they've got a little series where they swing that back out here. They run the swing to him. They run the swing and the go out of the solo guy or the inside trip. And then this time they come back and they come with the quarterback draw. And I think it's a great call. The Spruce Creek kids reacted very well to that.
4th and 10. The Bucks have the ball at the Spruce Creek 32-yard line. Up by a whole bunch of points. And electing to go for it. Not questioning, just making the statement. Houston takes a snap. He's flushed from the pocket, rolls to his near side. We're going to have a penalty flag coming. That's going to be holding. And a near interception. Number 7, Dante Collier.
Did a great job of breaking on the ball there, but you could see that it was being held on the edge here, and that's going to come back, whatever the
Marcus
result.
Tatum being called for holding. I'm guessing Marcus Tatum, just based on his reaction. Nonetheless, turnover on downs, moral victory.
Absolutely.
For the Spruce Creek Hawks, especially since they had that long run by Killens.
And that's the third stop, and they've needed some of those just from a confidence standpoint. And you're not just playing this game tonight. You're building for your future, and again trying to find people that you can count on, the kids that are going to continue to play and play hard regardless of the score, and because you're practicing. You're practicing for what's going to come, and you're trying to work on your execution. You're trying to work on your fundamentals, and you want to be able to continue to get something out of this, even though, minus the score.
Timeout on the field taken by the officials for a water break. 4:16 remaining. 35-0. Mainland leads Spruce Creek. Coach, we said that next week the Hawks go to Texas. Now, I don't know much, but I do have my college degree. And I'm looking that they play 8 days from now on the 13th. So that's got to be a Saturday.
Right.
They still have to travel.
Right.
So how much practice time are they going to get in? When do you think they leave? They probably going to leave Monday, Tuesday?
That's a really good question. I don't know the logistics of it, but it just does not seem ideal. I mean, the trip, I assume they're going to take a bus. I don't know this. I don't know the particulars
I was thinking
of it.
Flying, but okay, yeah.
Either way.
If they're taking the bus, they're probably leaving tonight.
And any of us, right? But any of us have traveled. If you just have to go and sit in a meeting after traveling that far, it can be a little bit tough on you, and much less to play a football game, which none of these kids have ever traveled that far to play a game. I just think there's some challenges involved in that deal.
And and unless it was the only date available, why you would choose to go cross country after playing the Buccaneers. I just, but like you said, logistically, we don't know what they were told,
Sure.
and what's going on. But man, to have to go to Texas after playing Mainland.
Well, I
Not
think the
gonna be
in
an easy
vogue thing
task.
to do, Billy. There's an in vogue thing that we in our day and age of SEC networks and Rivals.com and these types of things. The exposure is out there. The kids are turning on TV and they're seeing people play, and it kind of builds that. And the kids want to do it, or they think they want to do it, and you're just trying to you want to build your program. You want to give your kids something to be part of. But at the same time, you got to come back and you still got to play your district schedule.
And win or lose, these kids are going to Texas. There's probably going to be a lot of, logos exchanged, shirts exchanged, things of that nature. I think it's great. Don't get me wrong, but again, to have to do that following a game like tonight is got to be a difficult thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're like asking me personally, I absolutely would not take my team that far to play a high school football game, just because if it were a bowl game, if it were something at the end
of the season,
as a reward or that type of thing, possibly, I just don't see the benefits outweighing, because there's going to be a jet lag component of that. We got a fake punt. Nice job. Okay.
Well, the good thing about that, Coach, is they come back from Texas and they have a bye week.
Yep.
So they have 2 weeks to get ready. So at that point, you're either licking your wounds because you're 1-3, you just can't, or 1-2. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can go on. But again, there's no reason to throw in the towel. You haven't even played your first district game yet.
Absolutely, and the flip side to that open week is if you are 1-3, you don't have a gauge for those 2 weeks to know, or for your kids to know, hey, have we improved? We're banging on one another here for an extra week, and so there's 2 sides to all of it. We got a jet sweep here, and it's a tough play to run against Mainland.
Following the fake punt, which gave the Hawks first down, they come back with a jet sweep, and like you said, unless you're doing that in an inter-squad scrimmage against the blue and golds, it's probably going to go for naught. Just to let everybody know that's watching us right now, we are under a running clock, 35-point deficit. It's 35-0, Mainland leading Spruce Creek. This second half, third quarter, is about to come to a close. Tawan Williams still directing his spread offense. 3 receivers to his right, 2 near side. Tawan's going to roll out, has Mr. Olson blocking for him.
Ball's out.
And we're going to have a fumble on the play, recovered by Mainland High School. And that's a scoop and score. Or at least a scoop.
It's a scoop. He almost got the score. And you got a situation there when you play fundamental, good things happen. Their edge player worked so hard there to keep contained. And once he kept contained, Tawan got loose with the ball and tried to make the swim move with the ball. You as a quarterback, you got to take care of that. And when he swam it over the top, as it happens often, the ball comes out. And again, Mainland now has their 4th short field of the night, and this is the shortest of all.
And that was your boy, Kevin McCrary, on the scoop.
Something else. He is just some kind of player. He's got such a bright future. Possibly, and it's scary to say, his upside may be as good as anybody on that Buck sideline, and that's saying something, because they got some cats, man. They got some real ball players.
And again, they don't do anything but reload. They definitely don't rebuild.
No, sir.
So that brings to an end the third quarter. Again, moral victory. They kept Mainland out of the end zone. Spruce Creek did. It's 35-0, Mainland over Spruce Creek. We'll be back to bring you the start of the fourth quarter.